Jump in.
Can you hear a distant drum bouncing off the laughter of a melody? Yeah, yeah. And does the rhythm tell you, come, 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 come? Does your spirit do and dance to this symphony? Yeah, yeah. Does it tell you that your heart is a lion? Oh yeah. And does it tell you that your pain is a lion? Oh yeah. Does it wash away all your unlovely? Well, are you ready for a brand new discovery? Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music. Yeah, yeah. Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music. Singing, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, Calypso. Singing, oh yeah, oh yeah, Calypso. I say that I am the seed of the ground and tiger. I got to sing, oh yeah, Calypso. It is a living vibration, rooted deep within my Caribbean belly.
Want to share the video?
Lyrics to make a politician cringe, but turn a woman's body into jelly. Shake it up, shake it up. It is a sweet soul of music, Calypso. It could have never refuse it, Calypso. It make it shake like a Shango now, Calypso. Why it is it shaking, you don't know, that's Calypso. Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music. Yeah, yeah. Calypso, Calypso, Calypso music. Singing, oh yeah, Calypso. Singing, oh yeah, Calypso. I said that I am the seed of Antilano. I'm like a honey. I got to sing, oh yeah, Calypso. Oh, yeah.
So there are people who's come to the live and they watch it after on the rerun, and the opening song that gives everybody the opportunity to share the live and let everybody know that we're here. They always ask, why you play so much Calypso? Well, we play that opening song, usually a Calypso, to give everybody the chance to call everybody that the live is on, because while a lot of you take it on a rerun and take it for the information, and you're welcome to do that, many of the Progressive Empowerment Party members use the live video as an opportunity for them to get together and cross-talk and to introduce each other, or people come and ask for information, PEP members help them. So while a lot of people listening to the information and getting the facts, a lot of people also use the live video almost as a social gathering. Today's Sunday. Normally I wouldn't do a live video on a Sunday, but there is so much going on in the PEP universe that I had to come and talk to you all tonight. So much going on, so much to come. Yes, we're on the radio, 104.7 tomorrow morning from 9 till noon. So, but a lot of that happens on the radio is public. This is more intimate. This is more, it's open to the public. Anybody could share this video and anybody could see this video. But generally, the people that use this video are PEP members, and tonight's video is to touch on a lot of that stuff. If you realize the the studio behind me is, well, it's different. And that's because the actual studio, we're redoing something to do with the internet. And right now we should be having, I will be continuously monitoring our internet speeds while we live, because in this space, our internet is extremely high and you shouldn't have any problems with being bumped off and sticking and that kind of stuff. And it is this that Satish Ramsaran is going to fix. Satish is the man in charge of all of this, the broadband, in charge of making sure that we're functional. He's getting the studio set up. We're building an actual television broadcast studio in Stanmore Avenue. Yeah, that's something else that's happening in the in the PEP multiverse. We're building our own broadcast studio. We're going to be doing our own videos, and we're going to film in and edit in and then pay for broadcast time on whichever station needs the money the most. They've asked me to, how to say this? They've asked me to cease the hostilities where the media is concerned. I am very willing. I am willing to listen to all of the people who control the media to tell us what they plan to do. Last night at our PEP opening of the Barataria, the North Hub, there were media people present, taking pictures, asking questions. We hope that we get some mileage and some coverage. Yeah, so we're looking forward to a new reality, but I can't not say that it is damnable and irresponsible of the media to lead people astray and have them talking about foolishness like Buck. Now, I understand. There is a place and a space for everything. There's a place and a space for news of the world, the National Enquirer, National Lampoon, and Cracked and Mad and Crazy. There's a space for that. But if you're carrying yourself, if you're selling yourself as a national news carrier, somebody who's selling trust, then I'm going to assume that what you're going to broadcast and what you're going to publish is not going to be bullshit. It's not. It's not going to be bullshit, because you can't be talking about fake news and then broadcasting bullshit about Buck. Come on. And I'm not playing with your game. I'm just saying that my disdain and disrespect for the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, it remains. Because the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago has not put out a release calling on the traditional established media to resist from making a mockery of journalism in the country. But that is the same media that today the Express put out an editorial that I shared. Now, my good friend Wayne Sturge, former Senator Wayne Sturge, he said to me that if they were serious, if this wasn't them looking to shadow box and pretend that they want to be considered real media, they would have called for an investigation like you, Philip, have. Because we have to call for an investigation. But I want to read the Express editorial of today, because I know a lot of people don't buy newspapers anymore, and a lot of people don't read anymore. The name of this editorial was Defending the Indefensible. The government misses the point completely when it defends its rental of a property owned by the Attorney General on the grounds that it is a bargain, that the opposition was guilty of the same thing when in office, and that in any case it has been done for 30 years. Now, people are sending me stuff and saying, Philip, how are all these people sounding like Peppers so? And it's not that they sound like Peppers, because I've said to you all from the start, a lot of the information we put in the public space is natural, normal, critical thinking, lucid thinking, logical deduction, that if you looked at a situation rationally and spoke to the issue rationally, you'd come to a rational conclusion. But this is not what they've been doing. They've been selling their souls for the highest bidder. But now, a lot of them are coming back. A lot of these silos, this fella, Emil Krong, who I call a frou-frou lawyer, he put out an editorial in the Newsday. Somebody said that, look at New Pepper. Now, he attacked me for calling out Hamer. He didn't attack Gary Griffith. Monkey know which tree to climb. Because if Emil Krong was as serious as he pretends to be, he'd attack Gary too. Every time Emil Krong does an article in the Newsday, his picture is bigger than the actual story. It's like Emil Krong is selling Emil Crumb to the world. And the words are just to say, hey, we're also doing an editorial here. Now, I don't mind you being a self-promoter. Everybody has to be something. But at least be consistent. You took me to task. You took me to task over calling him out. You said that what I did was what caused a journalist to be slashed across the face in Fatima College grounds. When we found out it was this PNM jokey journalist, what's his name again? Now I can't remember, who get picked with a toenail clipper from a friend he fell out with. I mean, the Media Association Trinidad and Tobago was supposed to tell Emil Crumb, for shame. The editor of Newsday, Judy Raymond, for shame. Editor-in-Chief, Jones P. Madeira, for shame. But these people have no shame. And for whatever relation Judy Raymond is to Afra Raymond's sister, cousin, mother-in-law, I don't care. All of a sudden, Afra Raymond has taken it upon himself to pretend that he and I are at war. Now, it's one thing to have a pretend war, Afra, is another thing to have a serious one. Because I want to say this to you. The difference between you and I is, the similarities are, we occupy a very intelligent space. And we are brave enough to speak truth to power. The difference between you and I, Afra, is if people follow me, we have an alternative for them. If people follow you, the best you could give them is a drop to the doubles box down by the junction. Because you don't have a political party, you don't have the ability to form a political party, you're not motivated to form a political party. From what I see, you, Kirkwood, Paulo Kernahan, and others, just like seeing your names in print. And hey, don't get me wrong, I know the good feeling of 100,000 people saying boom. Because to this day, Philip Edward Alexander's video on the foreign currency is the largest, most shared item of any kind ever put out by any Trinbagonian of any nature. Over 1 million shares and counting on Facebook alone. It's been copied and reshared in the hundreds of thousands. It's been shared on WhatsApp in the hundreds of thousands. It will never be matched. It will never be eclipsed. And I know how good that felt because the first time I shared a live video, it did those numbers. So Afra, Paulo, Kirkwood, I understand. But at some point going down the road, you're going to have to ask yourself, if I tell the people, don't vote PNM, don't vote UNC, don't vote PEP, then we're telling them. Because they have to vote for somebody. Or you could go and follow this independent movement that is a prescription for anarchy, which is change for change's sake. And I have to keep rubbishing that for the 6 or 7 people distracted by the nonsense of it. We can't allow that to get any traction. I'll tell you why. If 41 independents make themselves available for elections, come election time, and we, out of change for change's sake, vote them into office, what forms the government? Now, according to the Constitution, the person who commands the most authority in the Parliament, the most support, who every other member of Parliament, or the most of the members of Parliament say they support, will get the nod. So, okay, let's say 36 out of the 41 say they support Jack Spratt. Now, Jack Spratt has to form a cabinet. How does Jack Spratt decide? He has to form a government. How does he decide from among the 41 independents that he does not know? How does he decide? How do I form a government out of 40 other people I don't know? I don't know them. I don't know their history. I don't know what they're for. I don't know what they're against. So I can end up in the Parliament where the government pilots a bill and half the government doesn't agree. That is a prescription for chaos. And Philip Franco and others like him not thinking past the wedding. Because you could marry anybody, you know, Dolly Parton said in a movie, a bird could marry a fish, but where will they live? And that's the point. So if you're going to vote for 41 independents, you can. You can use it to make a statement, but you'll destroy the country. Because there is no functional way for 41 people who have never met, who do not know each other, who do not know what each other stand for. Some could be socialist, some could be communist, some could be capitalist, some could just be confused. And you end up with a government mishmash and don't know what their mission is. You see, the Progressive Empowerment Party is so clear about what we want to do that there is not a point of issue that you could raise. And I know that Paulo, Afra, and Kirk agrees with what we say, even Emil Krong. Because Emil Krong's article today in the Newsday, somebody sent to me, is Emil Krong a pepper? No. But every time these people have to be rational, they need to cross the line into PEP territory. Because politically, there is only one political organization in this country that is advancing real nation managing policy. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because I was strained a little bit. I'm going to come back. I promise you I will tie everything together in the end. The Progressive Empowerment Party, when you look at the size of the cabinet, now, the government, when you look at the size of the government now and what they represent, the amount of members of parliament or senators that are given, you know what I love? I love the trolls that find my wall that takes the time to type to me. Now, I'll tell you something. I use social media a lot. I use it a lot. I spend a lot of time on social media. There are basically three categories of things I encounter on social media. Things I'm interested in, things I'm not interested in, things I will never be interested in. Things I am interested in, I read. Things I'm not interested in, I scroll past. Things that I will never be interested in, I look for the author, the person publishing it, to see what were their last 3 posts, to see if I have a reason for this person being my friend. Because I may have added you when your profile picture was you in a bikini shot, and I must tell you, I get tempted. But if what you're sharing on Facebook is nonsense and it does not line up with what I believe, 3 posts in a row, I bust your throat. So when you, some of you, see my live video and you're a sycophantic troll for the PNN, drunk on the Kool-Aid of the UNC, why say anything at all? Why not just scroll? Just keep scrolling. Alpha Raymond is fighting with Kenneth Luke because Kenneth Luke tagged Alpha Raymond in a post that promotes the Progressive Empowerment Party, and Alpha Raymond is adamant. He doesn't want to be tagged in something with Philip Edward Alexander. And I told Kenneth, why don't you just block Afro? He's functioning like a troll. Because Wayne Kublal Singh routinely tags me in everything Wayne Kublal Singh puts out. And I read nothing Wayne Kublal Singh puts out. I just go and I tag myself. But Afro Raymond needs to be antagonistic, like everybody else who uses my name to give them a little bump in the readership polls. You have to be able to say that you fought me. You know, there was a time a lot of people would like to come and trigger a fight with me and get a response from me so they could screenshot it to go and share with their friends. Believe that. I mean, that is as sad. That is as sad as it is possible to be. Because if your claim to fame is Philip Alexander, buff your friend, stay far from the grammar zone aisle when you're in the agriculture shop, because you could be drawn to it. Do not believe for a minute that we can only live with the people we agree with. We'll go nowhere. There's a saying, if you and I agree on everything, one of us is unnecessary. And that's a fact. That is as true as truth you could get. Because if you and I agree on everything, we're the same person. There's going to come a time when we're going to disagree. And the science and the art about it is to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. Now, I've given people their berth, as wide a berth as they need. And I know I may not like you or agree with you, but emotional intelligence says to me, if you, Afra, and me, Philip, are fighting the same fight on the same side of the fence, and something says along the way for the duration of the fight, shouldn't we cease arms to each other? Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But have you missed that class? In your rush to promote yourself, Afra, and Kirk, and Paulo, because I never understood the need for so much attacks against me if I'm irrelevant. This defeats me. It's like buying a sledgehammer to break down a wall that is not there. If Philip Alexander is not in government, if Philip Alexander has no power, And if Philip Edward Alexander is irrelevant, why even mention my name? Why? Makes no sense to me. Otherwise, sometimes, to the intelligent and the critical thinkers among us, they say, because a lot of the people in the beginning that used to attack me, clowns like Marcia Braveboy and Inshan Ishmael, what they used to do is, because people would encounter them in the news feed and may pause for a minute to listen to their diatribe. You can't take it long and much, but you take some, and if the first 15 minutes of your whatever you're doing is you attacking a man, Philip Alexander, my first response is, I'm going to go and see why you're attacking that man. So many people are peppers today because people like them have attacked us, and the people came to find us to see why we were being attacked. The UNC has repeatedly on their walls put out posts warning their members, do not share anything by the PEP or Philip Edward Alexander. They didn't say why. They didn't say they're spreading nonsense, we're sharing misinformation. They didn't say any of that. But they don't want you to share anything by Philip Edward Alexander or the Progressive Empowerment Party on their walls because they know they are hemorrhaging members in the ridiculous numbers. So they go to their walls and they create polls. Who are you voting for next election, PNM or UNC, and giving people only those two as a choice. So if you have to choose between cancer and a heart attack and those polls, you have to click one of them to see what the numbers are. So so you're literally ambushed to vote. So they get their little numbers as a choice. Well, look who winning, cha-la-la-la-la. We put out a poll. We were motivated to put out that poll when NACTA did a real poll outside. No, the PNM and the UNC. I have enough screenshots of them loading NACTA results when it benefits them. But when it doesn't benefit them, NACTA's a waste of time. But anyway, whether NACTA's a waste of time or not, NACTA's been around for about 30 years. And the last NACTA poll that came out, more than 35% of the people said they are voting for the third party, not a third party. The conversation didn't say we wished there was a third party. They said the third party. Now NACTA, I am sure, got the information, but NACTA couldn't share that information, or if NACTA did, because NACTA is a hired gun. NACTA is somebody that you hire and you say, go and poll that for me. Now, if NACTA wants to keep getting money, because there's no other way that NACTA gets money, if the only way for NACTA to get money is to have the PNM and the UNC hire them, NACTA is going to have to keep the PNM and the UNC happy, or they'll become irrelevant. So they're not going to say the PEP. But if they did, if by chance they did, if by chance NACTA told Newsday that 35% of those polls said they're voting for the PEP, Newsday couldn't run that. Newsday couldn't run that because Newsday relies on government. Newsday without government is what B.C. Paris used to call Bingo Day. The fact that B.C. Paris now writes his column in Bingo Day is between B.C. Paris and his conscience to handle. But Newsday is exactly that, Bingo Day. Nobody buys a Newsday anymore. It is, you have $3 to spend on a newspaper. Newsday is not your first or your second choice. And if you're wrapping fish, the Express have a bigger broadsheet. So the truth of the matter is, Newsday is a functional arm of the government. It is a promotions propaganda unit of the communication division of Trinidad and Tobago's government. And that's how the Newsday function. So the Newsday is not going to post that the PEP is commanding a 35% following now in 2 years and 3 months. So we did a poll of our own. Now we said, we'll get some licks, but let's see if we hold to the 35%. Only thing is, you're only allowed 2 choices. Either or. So it's PEP or. So we either had to do a PEP versus PNM poll and then a PEP versus UNC poll, but that seemed to be a lot of wasted time. So we thought, you know what? We will post a poll where you get to choose between the PEP or the PNM/UNC. It's thinking that all of their supporters will support them to the death of the PEP. 92% of those polled, continuing, and it's 3 days into the poll, There are 4 more days left, and it's open to the public. And 92% of the people polled are PEP supporters who are going to vote for the PEP. Somebody just wrote on the wall, elections day, voting is what matters. And I agree. But even if we get half of that 92%, we will win by a landslide. And that is to make you understand where we are now in this country, where we are now politically. Get yourself in a gear. Coming back to the point that I was making at the start of the thing, when I was reading the Express article, defending the indefensible. The government misses the point completely when it defends its rental of a property owned by the Attorney General on the grounds that it is a bargain, that the opposition was guilty of the same thing when in office, and that in any case it has been done for 30 years. AG Faris Al-Rawi goes further by trying to pull wool over the public's eyes when he equates the rental of his private property by a government in which he is a senior member with an earlier offer from the UNC government of which he is not a member. If the Rowley cabinet really believes it was all right to approve the state's rental of its AG's property, then the public must wonder why the People's National Movement ever supported the Integrity in Public Life Act and the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act. For it is precisely such deals which carry the scent of conflict of interest and lack of transparency in state procurement that led to both pieces of anti-corruption legislation. Lest the point be missed, the government's $575,000 monthly rental of Attorney General Al-Rawi St. Clair property is also precisely what has Trinidad and Tobago languishing in the bottom half of the global corruption ranking. It should surprise no one if this single act resulted in TNT's further fall down that scale. It was difficult to miss the irony in Minister Marley MacDonald being called upon to defend the rental arrangement in Parliament on Friday. She is, after all, the government minister and MP who was so prominently identified with allegations of abuse of public funds that the Prime Minister was forced to fire her from the cabinet. Remember Calabar? Although back in the cabinet, she remains under investigation in a matter related to the disbursement of public funds to a foundation headed by her husband. Instead of trying to defend the indefensible, the government should step back and try to see this deal from the public's perspective. Contrary to Ms. MacDonald's assertion of transparency, this rental is opaque. It is not enough for the AG to recuse himself from cabinet in a matter which is being decided upon by his colleagues and, in some cases, even friends. Also, as a major shareholder, he stands to gain significant personal benefit from this deal, whether or not he removes his name from the list of directors. It is incredible that the cabinet could preside over this deal and not see the obvious dangers of negative public perception and distrust. A government that is serious about protecting its financial reputation from public suspicion would have recognized the special circumstances involved and adopted appropriate practices, including an open invitation for bids and the use of a private realtor. In a country as small as ours, where everyone knows everyone, even arm's-length engagement might not guarantee an absence of undue influence, which is why the government needs to be guided by clear policy. Ultimately, however, those who choose public office must understand that they cannot have it both ways. Holding high public office invariably requires sacrificing private gain. And this is a fact. You do not get value for money when you step up to serve publicly. Again, to those who joined the video late, the difference in the background and the surroundings, I'm in a temporary studio while we deal with the internet issue in the main studio. As a segue, and as we hear, today, none other than Martin Daly. This is another column that was sent to me as a message. Somebody saying, is Martin Daly a pepper? As up to Martin Daly. But when you hear this, he sounds like one. Kevin De Freitas wants to know whose bike is that behind me. Kevin De Freitas, it's not yours. But you can borrow it. What the hell? This is what he's calling his column. What the hell in what the hell country? He he's obviously heard do what the hell you like land. So he's demonstrating that he is a follower of the Progressive Empowerment Party. But Mr. Alexander, the government does not know all the buildings it owns. I'm going to have that conversation with you another time, my friend. I want to read this. What the hell? Can one set out to sell a state asset by mistake? What the hell is a milder version of the social media acronym used to express surprise or disgust? It was my response to the Minister of Energy's implausible media release on Monday last related to the failure of Petrotrin. It is an equally... Now, we dealt with this properly, and our position on this went viral and shaped the national response. Mr. Daly is obviously a PEP follower. It is equally appropriate response to the revelation of the respective concerns of 2 High Court judges about security arrangements for the judiciary and the process for appointments soon to be made to the Court of Appeal and a lack of internal dialogue. On Sunday last, the chairman of the successor companies to Petrotrin stated an intention to sell Paria Fuel Traded Company Limited, the entity supposed to obtain a supply of fuel to meet our country's day-to-day needs following the shutdown of Petrotrin refinery. The chairman stated that there was no need for the Paria entity. In other words, Trinidad and Tobago, while y'all have been bucking around and bucking distracted, the government almost sold every liter of gas that you are going to buy in the future to a friend of the government. Let's say that away again, because you need to say what the buck. Because while the media, while Sabga News Network was pushing buck nonsense down your throat, the government almost made it possible, and still might, that every time you full gas, you reward a member of the government. Because this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to steal everything. They're trying to make it so that every time you pay, every time you use your phone, every time you watch a television show, a member of the government get it. Some troubling questions immediately arose. Was there no definitive plan to obtain fuel supplies and replace those previously provided by the Petrotrin refinery? Do you form a company for that vital purpose by reaction or VAPS? What fuel supply security, if any, do we have? While pondering these questions, the minister issued his release the next day contradicting the chairman's statement, right hand slapping left hand. The minister's statement asserts that the parent company of Paria Fuel had been directed to withdraw and retract any advertisement or request for proposals that may have been inadvertently issued for the sale of Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited. That reference to an inadvertent issue of a request for proposal is pure kicks in. It is in the light of that I ask, how the hell can one set out to sell a state asset by mistake? Again, this is the Sunday Express dealing with something that we addressed since last week. To add to the shambles, the Prime Minister at the post-cabinet media conference on Thursday reportedly said that the door on a sale of Paria remains open, apparently if such a proposal comes as part of a bid for the refinery which is for sale. They are playing smart with stupidness and trying to distract you with nonsense so that you will think, hey, once I get in gas, but it's not that. It's like once I have security in Petrotrin, it don't matter if it is Petrotrin security or amalgamated security, that is not true. Because we're dealing with public funds and there need to be some transparency, and especially when those funds are paid for by the taxpayers. There is no such thing as government funds. It's all taxpayer money. And I want to tell Martin Daly, Afra Raymond, Kirk Waite, Paulo Kernahan, get in a section. Choose. This election is going to have 3 options. The PEP, the PNM, and the UNC. Choose. Come out and choose, because all the talk you're talking after the fact, late, Martin Daly, late. When you all come out to talk, if you don't direct people somewhere, what's the point of you? What's the point of your commentary? How does it help? Okay, we agree. Then what? If there is no alternative to hold the government to its commitments, if there is no threat of a replacement, what's the point? What's the point of all of it? What's the point? Yeah? But anyway, some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was, and I made a list, the Progressive Empowerment Party wants to reduce, and we have been putting this in the public space, and I want to go heard Afra say he not voting for you. Thanks a lot for that, Jamon, McMichael, Scott, much appreciated. Silos stand and point and have nothing to offer. So, regardless, it doesn't make a difference what happens. It doesn't make a difference what happens next. Because Afra's choices have been reduced to PNM, UNC, PEP, or don't vote at all. And if he doesn't vote at all, then what's the point of him abusing the democracy and raising his voice? It serves no purpose. It helps nobody. Without an option or an alternative, it's like Venezuela. The PNM and the UNC have remained locked together like a joint dictatorship. Nothing changes under either party. So what would be the point? If you do not, if you cannot, if you will not do what it takes to form a political alternative, why pull down those who do? Why pull down those who can? And I want you to hear this. The Progressive Empowerment Party plans to deal with issues, including the shrinking of the cabinet to Attorney General, besides Prime Minister, Attorney General, Planning and Development, Finance, Economic Diversification, Finance, Trade and the Economy, National Security, Social Development and Management, Education, Health, Food Production, Public Works, Public Utilities. Foreign Affairs, Sports, Communications, Jobs, Tourism will all be secretary posts in the office of the Prime Minister, giving prime ministerial authority to Foreign Affairs, Sports, Communications, Jobs, Tourism. I'll tell you why. Start from there, go back. Why this is all the cabinet you need. Now I'll tell you, if you want to know what is the contrasting existing cabinet, agriculture, land and fisheries, community development, culture and the arts, education, energy and energy industries, finance, foreign and CARICOM affairs, health, housing and urban development, labor and small enterprise development, national security, planning and development. What is the difference between Ministry of Housing and Urban Development and Ministry of Planning and Development? Ministry of Public Administration, Ministry of Public Utilities, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. How many development ministries these people have? Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Works and Transport, Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, Office of the Prime Minister. That is just a waste of your money. All of those offices are a waste of your money. Most of those don't need to be ministers. The only ministers you need, and we have 2 ministers of finance in our list, because for the duration of the diversification exercise, somebody's going to have to manage the economy, and that includes things like setting up the oversight for banking, financial services, regulations, and banking and the insurance sector. But we have 2 finance ministers that will merge into one after the economy is properly diversified. So we propose ministers of the Attorney General, Planning and Development, Finance, Economic Diversification, Finance, Trade and the Economy, National Security, Social Development and Management, Education, Health, Food Production, Public Works, Public Utilities. Now, our Planning and Development Ministry will take responsibility for, in the very early stages, abolishing local government, abolishing the RHAs, abolishing the way the police service is set up now, and replacing all of them with something called a constituency board of supervisors. That would have a supervisor of public works, a supervisor of public utilities, a supervisor of education, a supervisor of health, and a supervisor of security. Each constituency will have its own mini cabinet of the important positions that are important to your life. Foreign affairs, communications, sports, jobs, tourism will all be secretary positions in the office of the Prime Minister. Like junior ministers, they would be functions of the Prime Minister's office, and they're important positions. Foreign affairs, we intend to call back all high commissioners, all ambassadors, shut down all unnecessary offices. The nation state of Trinidad and Tobago should only have 5 embassies or high commissions around the world. Europe, Asia, Africa, United Nations, and the Americas. Those five. Those five. Those five high commissions and ambassadors, embassies, are the only ones that we need. And they should have a direct mission that impacts the quality of life in Trinidad and Tobago and the performance of the government. We should have high commissioners no, I'm going to keep saying high commissioners / ambassadors, because if it is a Commonwealth state, it is a high commissioner. If it's not, it's an ambassador, but it's still a foreign-based diplomat. And those foreign-based diplomats have 2 jobs under a PEP government, 2 jobs. And they will be kept on or replaced based on their performance in these 2 jobs. And that is to sell Trinidad and Tobago to the world and to negotiate foreign direct investment from abroad to Trinidad and Tobago. Sports. Sports is critical to the development of the youth. Sport is a massive money spinner. And Trinidad and Tobago has proven time and time again that we bat way above our weight class in cricket, football, track and field, and even other things like martial arts. Trinidad and Tobago, cycling, swimming. Trinidad and Tobago should be given a real chance at sport development from the level of the school. We should have intercollegiate Olympics every single year. We should have a national football league. We should have a national indoor cricket league to train people for 2020 cricket. Because that is the money spinner coming out of the cricket industry. We need to get back to there, and we need a sports leadership that understands that, stamped with the power of the office of the Prime Minister. Communications. Communications is critical to the smooth operation of the country. People should have information at their fingertips. One of the #1 items going to be dealt with the Secretary of Communication is the Quality of Life Index, where every single citizen will have access to a digital portal, a website that asks you, are you happy? If you're not happy, tell us why. The algorithm will chart and rank what people are least happy or most unhappy about, and it will be there for the public to see. Security, jobs, cost of living, homes. Those things will instruct the public and the government, so we will know. Jobs. There should be a Secretary of Jobs with one mandate, that there must be more jobs in the country than people. We must have a competitive job environment for our people. It must be dovetailed to ensure, it should be dovetailed to further education to ensure that there are opportunities for our people to further develop themselves outside of the secondary school system to make themselves more attractive to job providers. That is where we need to be. Tourism. Tourism has to be a growth pole of this country. And food production, even though it's getting its own separate ministry, is going to be a massive ministry. Because our food production ministry is going to identify consumption data in this country, identify all of the available lands, create a marketing company that sets up 41 markets within the country, 41 national markets at the constituency level, and provides land on a land use policy to farmers to grow food and sell in your constituency. The Attorney General's office is critical to the management of a country if the Attorney General can be trusted to bring law and repeal law in keeping with the plan for the development of the country. If you do not have a legislative agenda, or if your legislative agenda is against the development of the people, you shouldn't hold that office. Our legislative agenda brings rights back to the people. We want a national Bill of Rights enshrined in the Constitution that could never be questioned again. We want it accompanied by an environmental Bill of Rights and an animal Bill of Rights. We want to protect animals from neglect, abuse, and those are farm animals, domestic animals, and even wild animals. We want to be able to make sure that the country can have guidelines. Nobody's supposed to be flying blind anymore. Nobody's supposed to be flying blind anymore. Our legislative agenda includes things like recall, campaign finance, the same issue I spoke to you about earlier, about replacing local government with the Constituency Board of Supervisors. That Constituency Board of Supervisors is going to be so important to the national build-out and development. If you're in Point Fortin, you know by the condition of your roads that having a Minister of Works based in St. Clair not helping you. Having a Minister of the Environment based in St. Clair doesn't help the people of Mayaro who lose in their coastline. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed in this country that are not being addressed because of our overly centralized government that is set up so to facilitate corruption, and we need to break that. One of the things that the Progressive Empowerment Party promises to do or proposes to do is to make internet service provision a public utility. Like telecommunications, like water, like electricity, all four of those things, telecommunications, internet service provision, water, and electricity need to come together under the Ministry of Public Utilities and regulated to the benefit of the people. We talk about water, we talk about the provision of water within the communities. We talk about holding, treating, and distributing 41 separate companies responsible for the water in each constituency. The Progressive Empowerment Party also wants to make internet free, broadband, and there's going to have to be some kind of accommodation. We will give a heads up to B-Mobile, Flow, and Digicel that when we come to office, immediately we will give children access to free internet on a national internet framework that will quickly become free national internet, because it's supposed to be cheap. It is a very cheap thing to provide. The fact that you'll charge so much money for it at all is why we want to compete with you and make it free. Now, if you want to deal sensibly and reduce the provision of cellular telephones and internet service down to the price that it should be, then run with the market. But charging what you're charging, I was there at the startup of the internet. Actually, not the startup of the internet, the startup of the World Wide Web, when everybody started to come out with websites, because that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. In my communications company, we do websites. We've been doing websites. We did Republic Bank and Angostura early o'clock. And early in the game, the protocols were being created not by wealthy people, but by technocrats. So they had no clue about gouging. And that is why still to this day, the ICANN fee for a .com, for the .com, .net, whatever, $7.99 or $9.99 with the little ICANN regulatory tax. But that is the annual cost. And that's what allowed the proliferation of the internet, because it was practically free. If we make internet free, broadband, Wi-Fi free to the people of this country, to the young people especially, they now have another platform from which to seek out a career, to become developers. Apps development is a massive, massive money spinner. It is a generator of huge revenue globally. If Trinidad could stumble upon a WhatsApp, if Trinidad could stumble upon an Instagram, and it's possible, it's quite possible. The first thing you need is a framework that facilitates children or young people to be able to develop things like that. Free broadband Wi-Fi should have been our situation for the past 10 years. That it is not, it shows that the government doesn't care about the people, but a Progressive Empowerment Party government will. Because there's no benefit to nobody for charging you for the internet. It should be free, or it should be a peppercorn charge for maintenance. Yeah? These are the kinds of things that we want to keep bringing to the conversation. And while it is Sunday night, while it is Sunday night and it's not normally a night we do live videos, I just thought I'd touch base with everyone and share some information, because what's been happening in the country, especially this week here, is unacceptable. We opened last night in Barataria, our North Hub. We had a fantastic turnout. It was well done. I have no complaints. We had a larger turnout in the opening of our North Hub than the UNC had in the opening of their Tunapuna, whatever that was supposed to be. We are opening our East Hub Tampuna Road Arima in 6 weeks' time. But in 3 weeks, we're going Sangre Grande. We decided that yesterday because the people of Sangre Grande call into the radio show every day asking, when are we coming Grande? We're coming Grande in 3 weeks. Prepare yourself. And as soon as the East Hub opens, next on the cards is Tobago. Tobago, we come in to spend a whole week. We come in to make real inroads into Tobago, to negotiate with people who want to work with the Progressive Empowerment Party in rescuing Tobago from the madness. We want to have public meetings with the tourism sector, with the business sector, with the public. We want to create an opportunity for all the people in Tobago to have their say and to put those who represent them now on notice that Tobagonians are not your slaves. Tobagonian people deserve better. Yeah? So that's something else that's coming. Also on the cards, we're having a party. It is looking like it is going to be Easter weekend. It is being worked out right now. It is a fundraiser. That party is going to be called Back to the 70s. It's a Back in Times party. And, well, you're going to get all the information soon. So mark your calendar. That is going to probably be Easter weekend. So mark your calendar now. All of you who would like to come to Trinidad, fly down to Trinidad for a weekend, fly for that weekend, come online with the team. Come and party with us at the Back in Times. First fundraiser, Back to the 70s. And yes, it's going to be dress code. And it's going to be door prize for the best dressed 70s man, woman, and couple. Yeah? And yeah. So are you opening in Pinal, Siparia? Absolutely. We plan to open satellite offices everywhere. What we're opening now are hubs. We've divided the country into 5 regions, North, East, Central, South, Tobago, to put a structure in place that could facilitate all of the surrounding constituencies. All of them have 10, one has 9, and Tobago has 2. Yeah? And all of them, their purpose and their function is to gather information and to create the network for the proper representation politically and government-wise. These are the issues that we hope to address coming soon. And as I said, I just touched base with you tonight. Now, you're going to hear me calling names, and I'm going to do this because I'm not taking people attacking me. We're just calling my name without saying why. If you think that you could do a better job than we are doing, please come and do it. In fact, if somebody better could come along and do a better job than the PEP, who knows? We might vote for you. We want a better Trinidad and Tobago. That's the purpose of this mission. None of us set out to put aside this much of our lives to do this for anything other than love of country. If you want a better Trinidad and Tobago and you can create a political movement, don't attack the PEP. Create a political movement. What many who have tried to create alternate political movements have seen to their misery and dismay is that it is not an easy thing to do. That you cannot, and some have even tried to poach PEP members to see if that is what will make the difference to their failure. Again, to their own despair. It doesn't work that way. If you do not have a real culture, if you don't have a real ideology, if what your movement is built on is just spite or bad mind or looking to make something of yourself, you ain't going nowhere. It'll crash. Because this is usually going to require volunteers, and volunteers sign on to things that they could believe in. And that is why the Progressive Empowerment Party is 2 years, 3 months old and growing. The fastest growing political party in this country's history, for a reason and a purpose, under a media blackout with no financial money. We've done it. We're here. So we're not going nowhere. So those of you who were waiting on the sidelines to see, the sidelines is no longer a safe place to be. To those of you who are silos, standing and pointing but have nothing to offer in a flood, in a hurricane, in an earthquake, in a tragedy or a crisis of any kind, you serve no purpose. You are as useful as tits on a bull. You can accomplish nothing for anybody. And standing on the sidelines, belching and barking and bacchanaling, for what purpose? To see your name in print? At the end of the road that we call life, do you want to look back and say, I bitched and moaned for all of my life? If at the end of the next election, the Progressive Empowerment Party does not win, Whether there's a Progressive Empowerment Party going forward or not will not be for me to decide. Because I have said enough times, if the this is my Sunday night. This is my Sunday, this is my movies time, look where I am. This is my Sunday night and I'm here. So if I've given all, I've put everything. Tomorrow I take mornings off to do the radio. I put everything on the line for this party. I put everything on the line for this movement. So if at the end of the next election, whenever it is called, the Progressive Empowerment Party is not victorious, I, Philip Edward Alexander, will be out of politics for good. That would be it for me. And somebody else, most likely, because you shouldn't have to rubbish such a powerful movement, somebody else will take the reins and carry on. Probably. But this mission here is me demonstrating that not only can I say what is wrong, not only can I demonstrate what is right, I have the courage of the convictions to do it. And I'm willing to sacrifice life and time to do it. Those of you who outside there talking a good talk, you all should as well. No, something else I want to touch base with. Actually, let's take a pen with that to see the public response first. Last night, Tyrone Hernandez sang again at a PEP meeting. He sang in San Fernando and he sang last night in Barataria. And if you don't know who Tyrone Hernandez is, maybe this will refresh your memory. That's the singer of this song. And he's officially a pepper. And he loves, and he said to me last night, he said to me, every public meeting, you have to have me on board because I am here to sing this song for the people. I understand the President of the Republic has said that the big problem with Trinidad and Tobago is not the system but putting the same people in office over and over. I think she just endorsed the PEP, which is not a bad thing, except that the PEP proposes to amend the Constitution to make the office of the President redundant. Yeah, because we believe that that is a cost we do not really need to pay for a serial North and South.
They said where you vote them in. Vote them out. Register and vote them out. Totally. Vote them out. State your finger and vote them out.
Don't forget this coming Saturday, we back at noon, 19 Stanmore Avenue. But this coming Saturday, we will be having 3 meetings in Trinidad and Tobago at noon at the same time. Because the South office at 137 Manahambe Road, St. Madeleine is open. And the North office at 10th Avenue, Barataria is open. And the headquarters is open at 19 Stanmore Avenue. So next week at noon, you have a choice of 3 PEP meetings that you could attend. South, North, or headquarters. Think about that.
Rescue the country. Vote them out with tempo. They have the faith. Let's put our country together again. Vote them out with calypso and joyous refrain. Let's put our country together again.
Kid Rowley say vote for your interests, and that is the first time the man has said something that I agree with. Your interest has to be good governance. Your interest has to be a better nation, not stadiums and bullshit distractions, not buck talk. Your interest has to be a better healthcare, better education, better food and food prices, regulations for the banks, free Wi-Fi, water in your pipes 24/7, a country where you can leave your door and your window open and don't have to buy no wrought iron, no tank, no pump. The cost of wrought iron, tank and pump is about 50,000 plus when you're building a house that you could save. That is people's interest. Let's talk about that and stop giving them bullshit to hold Keith Rowley. And I would like to say, great job, well done, Denise, Xavier, Challoner and Chester Birchwood of the New York team. And also, I want to say something that I am overdue to say, that there is a very vibrant Canada-Toronto team. And I want to thank Diane Saldana, Arnold Jaglal, Kamal Lochan, Joel Kisoon, Gaj Ramlal, David Bruno Holt, Kezia Rampal, Devika and Dennis Ali, and Errol Sitahal, led by the indomitable, unstoppable Joan and Anthony Sinanan. The Toronto team of the PEP is a force to reckon with. The New York team is a force to reckon with. The Florida team is building itself. It is going to be a force to reckon with. We, the Progressive Empowerment Party, these people are why there is a PEP. If it wasn't for all these people, if it wasn't for the management team and the executive team and those who put out the chairs and pick them up at the end of a meeting, if it wasn't for all those people, all the Progressive Empowerment Party would be is me making a set of old noise. There is a real organization, Debbie Jaikaran and her crew. You see what our rallies look like now? By the time we reach to a national rally for elections, we're going to blow the opponents away, and we're doing it with cricks and cheese money.
If their policy
is a fallacy, their bureaucracy, a catastrophe. Good evening, Mr. Vernon Dilima. Always a pleasure having you in our ranks. It's for them to go.
If it is fabrication, these statements that they spout.
If your government was serious about sports in this country, it would recognize the work that Atto Boldon is doing. Don't wait for a PEP government, because we will do anything to put Atto Boldon in charge of our national sports. That man turning his blood to water outside there, still fighting for Trinidad sports, taking Jamaicans and others to the top of the world rankings, and Trinidadians still don't recognize what we have in Atto. like Vernon de Lima. Why is Vernon de Lima not the Attorney General of this country? The man has a wealth of knowledge that you could put to good use to help us right-size and fix everything from the justice system go back. He here since Adam was a boy. We keep putting people that are self-service like Faris Al-Rawi and Anand Ramlogan that for the entire duration of their term in office have accomplished far too all of benefit to anybody. How is this? I mean, when we realize that the Anti-Corruption Investigative Bureau, which is a function, a department of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, was answering to the Attorney General, that Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj did that John Jeremy and the Manning was okay with that, and the rest of them. This country became a bullshitocracy. The political directorate, which is the most suspect in all corrupt activity, was handling and controlling the police department responsible for investigating corruption. What level of madness is that?
When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. If it is a frustration, let's make you want to shout. When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. Before they misuse out.
Thief out, sell out, and things out.
If it you, vote them in. Vote them out. Register and vote them out. All of them, vote them out. Take your finger and vote them out. Them unresistant,
Them and them.
vote them out in Scarborough and in Bonus Bay.
Let's put our country.
Together again. Vote them out in Kamuto and in Larrabee. Let's put our country together again.
Today we shared a picture of what I thought was Barbados, somebody else said it's St. Lucia. Either way, the picture gone viral. And it is people in the roads with their placards protesting. And I asked, why aren't we outside there protesting? Why aren't we telling the Prime Minister cancel the reprehensible lease for number 3 Alexandra Street, and fire the Attorney General? To fire both Wilfred Espine and Line Minister Franklin Khan. Listen, I'm really exhausted. I'm sorry for the double speak and the mistakes. I apologize. I'm going to get a good night's sleep tonight. I'm going to be good on the radio tomorrow. To fire both Wilfred Espine and Line Minister Franklin Khan for attempting to mislead the public over Paria. To fire Stuart Young for his incompetence and lies. To fire Carl Mimbert for destroying our country and handing corporations soul over to the contract mafia. To fire Rohan Sinanan and investigate the Kedona purchase. To fire Robert Lehan for the madness that is the dry taps 3 months from enough rain falling on this land to drown it. To fire Shamfo Kujo for the collapse of our entire sporting industry. To investigate John Rahal and Greenvale. Are you ready to stand up and demand public servants serve the public? When are we going to march? Every time I post something like that, listen, and you come and you post on the wall denigrating Trinis and saying Trinis will never march and Trinis don't like to march. I am saying this now, don't take this wrong. I am going to block those people. We do not need the naysayers raining on our parade. For every 3 people that stand up and say we're ready, they have some clown coming around to tell us how things were in the past. Could you imagine if it was Trinis responsible for freeing the slaves, black people still slaves to this day? Because they will say, nah boy, black people like it so, we like being slaves. If it was Trinis responsible for women having the vote, women would have never have the vote. If it was Trinis responsible for anything that required people to do, nothing would have done. Because Trinis just want to piss on their own foot and talk about what used to be. Everything is something until others come along and change it. All the countries that work had their dark times in history. All the countries that work had a dark time in history until better people came along and fixed it. Never doubt that, but for a handful of people is all that's required to change the world. That's what it takes. Stop pissing on your foot. Stop talking about who jamming still, who like it so, and who don't care. They are not our concern. Our concern is the people who want a better nation. Let us work together to fix that. Yeah? And until tomorrow, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.